coming to you live from my studio in Ottawa, Ontario, Canada. Thank you for watching me on Joe Girl TV. You can follow me here. You can also check out Joe Girl TV on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, Pinterest. I think that's it. And of course, you can check out my blog at joegirl.com. It's joegirl.com. So, I'm Joe Girl. Hi. And I live here in Ottawa with my 2 sons and my dog. I am an artist and I am a creative play coach. That means that I work with people, primarily women, but I'm happy to help anybody who needs a little inspiration and encouragement to tap into their creative energy and inject more inspiration and joy into their lives. So we all need that. And for me, that means jumping into my studio and working with lettering, illustration, acrylics, watercolor, you name it, to just enjoy some creative expression. And if people want to purchase the output, that's even better. So just to show you some of the work that I've done, I'm going to pop my phone out of the tripod. So that piece at the far end is actually what I call my Live Your Spirit piece, and there's some hand lettering in there, and it's just really joyful piece, and it's this jumping off point for a lot of my clients. It uses only 3 colors, cyan, magenta, and turquoise, and then they blend with waters and isopropyl alcohol to create the greens, oranges, and purples that you see there. And then once it dries, we pull out areas to do some illustration and lettering to make it really an inspiration piece to hang in your home. Let's unplug this and go on a little tour, shall we? Going to my kitchen now. This is one of my favorite pieces of all time. I call it Silver Lining, and it started with just a mashup of greens and turquoises in the background, and then I painted the white cloud over top of it, did some fun dripping, and of course some silver leaf across the top. And then over here, I've got to go the long way around because I'm walking over my sofa at the moment. Over here is a piece that I call Floating By, and it's again acrylic mixed media. There's some texture in the background that I created with crackle paste and molding paste. This is clear tar gel, a product by Golden, and some pouring medium, some gold leaf. I always like to have a little bit of sparkle in all of my work because, you know, I'm a sparkly kind of girl, and I think we all need more sparkle in our lives. So some people see like planetary stuff, some people see an eyeball. For me, I created it as I was away at a waterfront cottage one weekend a few years ago, and so for me it was just things floating by in the lake. And maybe those things are dreams or inspiration or just, memories, nostalgia. That's what that piece is to me. It's nostalgia. That's pretty much it. My boys are still asleep upstairs in their rooms, so I don't want to go over there. But this is a piece that I worked on yesterday. It actually has a totally different painting underneath that I wasn't loving, and there was some crappy energy connected to it, so I whitewashed the whole thing, started over about 4 times, and then walked away and came back later in the day, painted the whole thing black, and this is what came through for me. So I just need to do some final touch-ups to it today, and then I will give it a coat of pouring medium for some really heavy shine and lacquer. I would typically use art resin to go over this, but I don't have any with me at the moment. So, and the thing I like about using pouring medium for that lacquer finish is that it nestles, it's thinner than the art resin, so it nestles into the nooks and crannies of the texture, and it keeps that texture even though it ends up being a super high gloss finish. So that's what I like to do. So I'm gonna pop this back into the tripod, and I don't have a plan for this canvas just yet. Usually when I start a painting, I just kind of trust my intuition, and it sounds really corny and hokey, but I like to kind of feel the energy from the from the canvas and see what it wants to become. I see that somebody is watching. It could very well be my son, but if it isn't, feel free to send me a message. I'm just learning how to use Twitch, so if I don't figure it out and respond to your message, I'm sorry. I'm just using my iPhone at the moment to film this. But I do see a little chat room window off to the side, although I'll be on this side of the camera, so I may not see your message. So I apologize in advance if I don't respond to you right away. But, okay, so I've got kind of my favorite tools here. This is a silicone spatula by it's a Catalyst brand, but it's by Princeton Brush, and another smaller, more pliable version of that spatula. This is great for big coverage. It also kind of skim coats things, but I like the texture and it doesn't leave brush marks. But when I want good coverage and a little bit more control, I'll use this stiff bristled brush by Liquitex. And then once I've got, and I'll also use my hands. I use my hands a lot to put paint on. And then once I've got the background done, I'll use tools like these, liner brushes, feather brush, just a crappy dollar store foam brush, pencil, bamboo skewer. Get 100 of these at the dollar store for $1. And then of course final detail work may or may not be done with paint pens. So these are for later in the day. So right now I'm just going to work on applying a base coat to this. I've got a bucket of mostly Liquitex, Tri-Art, and Kroma paint products here. Again, these are all acrylics. Kroma and Tri-Art are Canadian brands. Kroma comes from out in British Columbia. Tri-Art is local here in Ontario in a city called Kingston. And Liquitex is in the US. But they're all fantastic products. And then I've got a huge paint wall. Woo! I'm just trying to move the whole tripod. Huge paint wall of Amsterdam paints. And those are just, they're student grade, but they're great for just applying base coat. So I think I'm gonna go and grab some of those. Some of these two are Pebeo. And I'm feeling a yellow vibe today. I think more of an ochre tone, actually. Which is strange, because usually I go for brights, but I'm going to try starting with this ochre tone and see what happens. Yeah. So I'm just going to put a bunch on. Whoop! Fun, right? And this is where I'm going to use this Catalyst spatula just to apply it everywhere. This also results in a little bit of texture as opposed to using a brush. Now, I usually use canvas, gallery canvas, which is the 1.5 inch thickness. But I don't have any canvases in the studio right now that are the size that I wanted to work on. So I did have a couple of these wooden canvases. I believe they're birch. And I actually really like working with them because there's no bounce. And I feel like they're a little bit more, I have way too much paint on here. They're a little bit more sturdy for the layers and layers that I tend to end up with in my pieces. Oh, I should have my apron on because I do not want to get paint on this shirt. Hang on, let me get my apron. want to see some funny stuff? This is my apron. It's a cow. It has years and years of paint on it. It was originally a cooking apron that an old boyfriend's stepmom made for me for Christmas. Oh my gosh, that was way back in the 90s. Early 90s, that. Okay. So, all right, I'm going to scrape most of this off, actually. Too much on. This is where my gross dislike of waste comes in. I should have a little plastic plate here. So actually, I could have one over here. Get that off, otherwise it was just going to take too long to dry and prohibit me from moving on. So we'll see if I can use that later. But it will probably dry in the time that it takes me to decide what I want to do with it. So, all right. Man, I hate waste. I love the look of all those acrylic pours that people are doing, but I just can't get behind the waste. I've done a few, but on a really small scale. Actually, have I done a few? I think I've only done one, maybe two. Yeah. Okay. Lots of ochre being applied to my apron at the moment. I do need to be careful because sometimes if the paint is too wet, it goes through. Okay, what do I want to do next? I think I want to apply another color. And I'm feeling a dark phthalo turquoise. That's Viridian phthalo turquoise. So this is a really dark turquoise. And what's going to happen is, I'm totally picking up the aesthetic from that floating by painting that I just showed you in my living room, because that's what these colors are from that one. Do I want to do that? Yeah, I gotta trust my gut. I want to do that. So I'm gonna apply this Triart phthalo turquoise up in this corner. Try not to use too much. I can always add more if I need to. I'll leave that out. So once I use a color, I tend to leave the tube or the jar out so that I know what my palette is. Some people will define their palette before they even start, but I don't plan my pieces for the most part, unless it's a commission. I try not to plan. Well, you know what else I need? My spray bottle of water. Ta-da! This is just water. But it helps to loosen things up a little bit if I want to get some more coverage or make it more transparent. I'm going to use the brush for this because I want a bit more control and a bit more blending. There we go. Yeah, I don't typically plan my pieces. I'm a very intuitive artist, I guess is the phrase a lot of people use these days. I think Flora Bowley is one of the most well-known intuitive artists, and she just kind of goes with the flow and creates from her gut and her heart and her spirit. And I like to do that too. It's so much less contrived that way. You just listen to your creative energy and go with it. And that way there are fewer mistakes, right? If you don't have if you don't have a preconceived notion of how your art is supposed to end up, then there's no right or wrong. Okay, I'm loving that. I like the intensity of it up in this corner, and then it kind of fades out into really cool grass greens here. What do I want to do? Oh my gosh, this is ending up totally like my floating by piece. But chances are none of this will be visible for the final piece. It's just the way it rolls. It's just the way it goes. I feel like I want to pull some navy into this. So I'm going to use this Liquitex Soft Body Prussian Blue. I'm really going earthy with this piece for some reason. Again, I'm going to use the brush. I'm not going to bother cleaning it because I like picking up that turquoise. Oh yeah. Again, I'm going to just keep this wet, get some more movement out of it. You don't want to add too much water to your acrylic paints. If you need to make it really thin, you should use something like pouring medium or airbrush medium, because those are acrylic based fluids, and you won't risk breaking down the polymers. If you add too much water, the polymers and the acrylic won't stick together, and you could end up with some cracking over time, which is an effect onto itself, but not always a desirable one, especially over time after you've varnished. You don't want, because as the water dries, the pigments in your acrylics won't stay bonded. So over time, like months, possibly years, you can end up with some cracking in your work. So I'm just gonna feather this out a little more. Just leaving a little bit of that yellow coming through. Again, none of this has been planned. I'm just winging it. Okay, that's looking pretty cool actually. As a background. Pretty. All right. I'm gonna bring some of that navy up here into this corner. Okay. So, I think I'm actually going to I'm struggling because I feel like reaching for the crackle medium, but I don't want to create another piece like that other one. But something about it is compelling me today, which is strange because I haven't reached for these colors in months, not at this intensity. So I'm wondering what that's all about. I feel like I want to bring some white into this, but well, let's see what happens. Just going to put a little bit right here on the brush itself. I don't want this to be a super thick application of white. Where do I want it? Again, this is all just going to end up being a background, so I'm not overly fussed with brush strokes, how much much of the color is visible. I told you that yellow was probably going to disappear. I do believe that every color has an energy. I believe that everything has energy. So that yellow, the energy of that yellow will stay in the painting for all of eternity. Even though it's not visible. Okay. I'm actually going to use my fingers to blend this edge a little bit. Get some of those brush marks out of here. And then I'm going to grab this spatula and drag it just to get some different textures. Okay. All right. Super soft. Okay, I'm gonna leave it for a while. That looks really cool on camera. I'm gonna leave it and come back to it. I'll try to remember to jump back on live here when I do. Thanks for joining me.